I have a hypothetical for you today, and I need you to really put yourself in this headspace.
Okay.
Imagine for a second that you've just been hired as the warden of a maximum security prison.
High stakes right off the bat. I'm with you.
Extremely high stakes. Your one job, the only KPI that really matters, is making sure nobody escapes.
Right.
You have a generous budget, maybe even an unlimited budget, and you want the absolute best security system money can buy. What are you shopping for?
Well, if the budget is unlimited, standard procedure usually dictates a mix of heavy surveillance and physical barriers. I'd probably be looking at the high tech stuff, motion sensor cameras, maybe, thermal imaging to catch body heat at night.
Thermal imaging, okay. Maybe some laser tripwires.
Sure, why not? Maybe some AI driven facial recognition to track movement or, drones patrolling the fence line. If money is no object, you go for the most sophisticated hardware you can find.
Right. That is exactly where my brain went too. Lasers, robots, cameras that can zoom in on a mosquito from a mile away. We instinctively think complex problem equals complex solution.
We do.
But what if I told you that in a prison in Santa Catarina, Brazil, they looked at all those options. They looked at the high-tech brochures with the lasers and the AI, and they just said, no thanks.
Okay.
Instead, to patrol the critical zone between their inner and outer walls, they went with something a little louder and significantly fluffier.
I think I know where you're going with this. You're talking about the Geese.
I am talking about the Geese. They replaced their guard dogs and their high-tech options with a literal geese patrol. And here's the kicker. It's not just some budget cut. The data says it actually works better.
It really does. And I know how that sounds. It sounds like a joke, like a cartoon setup. But when you dig into the source material we have for today, it's actually a brilliant case study in engineering.
And that is exactly what we are doing today. We're doing a deep dive into a stack of research that circles around a theme we're calling low-tech, high-impact.
I love that title. It really captures the essence of what we're looking at.
The mission today is to look at why these simple, often nature-based solutions can outperform the most expensive, complex technology we invent. We're going to look at Brazilian prisons, African minefields, and even Google's headquarters.
And maybe more importantly for everyone listening, how we can use these examples to become better communicators and, better problem solvers ourselves.
Exactly. So we aren't just talking about animals doing jobs. We are talking about a philosophy of efficiency.
We're looking at why we have this bias toward complexity and how to break it.
But we have to start with the geese. I need to unpack this Brazilian prison situation because I still can't quite get the image out of my head. A goose. Really, a German Shepherd I get, a camera I get. How does a goose even qualify as security hardware?
It does sound ridiculous until you look at the biology. This is happening in the state of Santa Catarina. They needed perimeter control, specifically in what they call the clean zone.
The clean zone.
Yeah, that's the no man's land between the inner fences and the outer walls.
Okay, so the final barrier before freedom.
Exactly. Now, typically you might put guard dogs there, but dogs, they require a lot of specific handling. They bond with handlers, they need play, complex diets. It's a lot of overhead.
Right.
The prison officials decided to bring in geese. And biologically, it's brilliant. It all comes down to sensory input.
Biologically? How is a goose biologically superior to a German Shepherd or, I don't know, a multi-million-dollar camera system?
Well, if you strip away the feathers and just look at the specs, a goose is a highly sophisticated sensor array. First, their hearing is incredible.
Really?
Far better than you might expect, and they can detect subtle disturbances at long distances. But more than that, they are intensely territorial creatures.
They are mean. I mean, let's be honest. If you've ever been chased by a goose in a park, you know they don't mess around.
And that aggression is a feature, not a bug in this system. If a stranger enters their territory, that clean zone, they don't just watch, they react. And their reaction is extremely specific. They make a very distinct, loud, honking noise.
The sources call it a gaga sound.
Right. And that sound is effectively an alarm siren. Think about the difference between that and a camera. A camera is a passive sensor. It requires a human guard to be watching a monitor at the exact second a breach happens.
And humans get tired. We have alert fatigue. After staring at a green screen for 6 hours, you zone out. You miss things.
Exactly. But an auditory alarm, like a screaming goose, it bypasses the need for visual attention. It alerts the human guards immediately, no matter where they're looking.
Plus, and I found this fascinating, they have a visual advantage too, right?
They do. Geese have a very wide field of vision, and their eyes are excellent at detecting motion, even in low light. So at 3 a.m., when a camera might be grainy or a guard might be fighting sleep, the geese are fully active.
It's like a 247 autonomous surveillance unit.
That runs on grass and leftovers?
That's the other part, the user experience, or maybe the admin experience.
Mm.
The sources mention the maintenance difference is huge. Geese are cheaper to feed. They don't need the intense training a police dog needs.
And they definitely don't ask for overtime.
No unions, no firmware updates.
None of that.
But the only metric that really matters in a prison is efficacy. I mean, you can have the cheapest solution in the world, but if people are escaping, it's a bad solution.
So what's the scorecard for the Geese Patrol?
This is the stat that just validates the whole project. The prison in Santa Catarina has been using this system for over 10 years now.
Okay.
In that time, the number of escapes is zero.
Zero.
Zero. It's a proof of concept, that is. It's hard to argue with. It reminds me of another little nugget from the research, Chiang Mai in Thailand. Apparently, they use geese to eat poisonous algae in the city moat.
Which is another layer to this. A robot that detects intruders can only do that one thing. A thermal camera can only detect heat. Biological solutions often have these secondary benefits. They're cleaning the water just by existing.
In Brazil, they're trimming the grass while they guard the wall. It's multitasking by design.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have geese securing prisons, but I want to up the stakes. A prison escape is bad, but our next case study deals with something much more volatile. We're moving from the prison yard to old war zones.
Right, we're talking about landmines. This is a massive humanitarian crisis. There are millions of unexploded mines buried in former conflict zones. Cambodia, Angola, Mozambique.
They're just silent killers that stay active for decades.
For decades. And the traditional way of dealing with them, the quote-unquote high-tech way, it's terrifyingly inefficient.
It seems like it.
The standard tool is the metal detector. Now think about the user interface of a metal detector.
It beeps.
It beeps when it detects metal, any metal.
A bottle cap, a rusty nail.
A coin, a bullet casing, or a deadly explosive. So the deminer hears a beep, and they have to stop, get on their knees, and carefully treat every single beep as if it's a bomb.
That sounds agonizingly slow. And dangerous.
It is. You end up with so many false positives, you're digging up trash 99% of the time.
Enter the hero of our story. And I use the term hero loosely because, well, it's a rat.
Not just any rat, the African giant pouched rat. And the organization is called APOPO. They realized that trying to out-tech the landmine with metal detectors was just the wrong approach. They needed a sensor that could distinguish the threat from the clutter.
So how does a rat solve a problem that baffles military-grade hardware?
It comes down to two main factors: weight and smell.
Let's start with weight.
A landmine is designed to trigger under the weight of a soldier or a vehicle. Usually it takes about 5 kilograms of pressure. These rats, even though they're giant pouched rats, weigh less than a kilogram.
So they can walk right over a live mine without triggering it.
They physically can't set it off. Low weight, no risk. It's a huge advantage over a human or a heavy robot.
Okay, but the real magic is the nose.
The real tech here is the nose. These rats are trained using clicker training, basically, to smell the specific chemical compounds in the explosives, like TNT.
So when they're scurrying across a field, they're not looking for metal.
No. They completely ignore the bottle caps. They ignore the rusty nails. They only stop and scratch at the ground when they smell the TNT.
That filters out all the noise.
Yeah.
That has to change the speed of the operation dramatically.
The statistics are staggering. To clear an area the size of a tennis court, roughly 200 square meters, a human with a metal detector might take anywhere from 1 to 4 days.
4 days.
A single Hera rat can clear that same area in 20 minutes.
40 minutes versus 4 days. That's not just an improvement. That is a paradigm shift.
It's exponential efficiency. And think about the economic impact. Farmers can get back to their fields years earlier. Villages can expand safely. It unlocks the local economy.
And again, the cost. You're not buying a $100,000 robot that needs a team of engineers if sand gets in the gears.
No. The rats are locally sourced, breeding is cheap, and their fuel cost is, well, it's bananas.
Bananas and peanuts.
Yeah.
We are saving thousands of lives for the cost of fruit.
It really highlights this blindness we have. We assume sophisticated means electronic, but nature has spent millions of years refining these biological sensors. A rat's nose can detect parts per trillion. It's a piece of technology that is far more sensitive than almost anything we can manufacture.
I love that. The nose is technology. It reframes the whole conversation. We aren't using an animal, we're using a highly advanced biosensor that just happens to be furry.
Exactly.
Okay, we've had security geese, we've had bomb sniffing rats. Let's complete the trifecta with something a little closer to home for some of our listeners, especially on the west coast of the US.
California.
Every year, the wildfires seem to get worse. And a big part of the problem is the fuel. Dry brush, dead grass, weeds. It's just kindling waiting for a spark.
Right. And clearing that fuel is a logistical nightmare. The terrain is steep canyons, rocky cliffs. You can't just drive a massive mower out there.
And using chemicals is terrible for the ecosystem.
So, once again, we have a problem where machines struggle. Enter the goat army.
The goat army, I love that image.
It's a very literal description. Companies and even tech giants like Google are hiring herds of goats to manage the vegetation.
Wait, let's pause on Google. This is a company practically synonymous with high tech. Self-driving cars, quantum computers, and they're using goats.
They hired a herd of about 200 goats to graze the grounds of their headquarters in Mountain View. And if you look at the why, it aligns perfectly with the rat and the goose. It's about the right tool for the job.
So break it down for me. Why does a goat beat a lawnmower?
Accessibility is number one. Goats are incredible climbers. They can scale those steep hills that a vehicle would just roll down, but it's also about preference. Goats are browsers, not grazers. They actually prefer the rough, woody, dry weeds, the invasive species that act as the most dangerous tinder. They eat the problem first.
So they are basically programmed to eat the fuel.
Precisely. And like the others, the side benefits are huge. They provide free fertilizer. They don't emit carbon dioxide like a gas-powered mower. And for Google, there was a human element too.
The employees like them.
Of course. I mean, imagine looking out your office window. Would you rather see a landscaping crew with loud gas blowers or a herd of goats? It boosted morale. It's the biophilia effect. Nature reduces stress.
So we have geese that don't need batteries, rats that work for bananas, and goats that fertilize while they fireproof.
It creates a pretty compelling argument for decoding this low-tech philosophy.
Let's do that, because right now, someone listening might be thinking, this is cool trivia, but I don't run a prison. I don't have landmines in my backyard. But the source material pivots here. It suggests these are lessons in strategy and communication.
This is the core insight. We all carry a cognitive bias. Expensive equals better. Complex equals serious. If a consultant pitches a $10 million AI security system, we take it seriously. If they pitch a flock of geese, we laugh.
Until we see the data.
Right. But the lesson here is about reframing. You said it earlier, we shouldn't look at them as just animals.
Yeah, I called the Goose a 360-degree autonomous alarm system.
That is exactly the shift in thinking. A goose is a system. It has sensors, a processing unit, an output mechanism. It has infinite battery life, provided there's grass and water.
So for the listeners who are speakers or business leaders who are just trying to pitch an idea, how do we use this? The sources lay out a speaker's toolkit.
They do. It outlines 3 specific techniques for storytelling that make your ideas stick, using these examples as a template.
Let's run through them. Technique 1 is the power of contrast.
This is all about positioning. You have to place your simple solution right next to the complex, expensive failure.
Like the rat versus the robot.
Exactly. If I just say, rats are good at finding mines, you'd say, okay, that's nice. It has no weight. But if I say a $10 million robot takes 4 days, and this rat that costs a few $100s does it in 20 minutes, suddenly the rat looks like the smartest investment on Earth.
You anchor the value against the expensive alternative. That makes the simple solution look brilliant, not just cheap.
Correct. It forces the audience to question the value of complexity itself.
Okay, technique number 2. The hidden superpower, or reframing.
This is what you did with the autonomous alarm system comment. It's taking a common trait, a goose honking, and describing it as a high-value feature.
So instead of saying geese are loud, which sounds annoying,
You say, they provide a perimeter alert system that works in complete darkness.
that elevates the story. It stops being an anecdote about a farm animal and starts being a strategic insight.
It gives the solution class. It sounds professional. You're stripping away the bias against low-tech by using high-tech language to describe its function.
I like that. It's marketing, but it's honest.
Right.
You're just highlighting the utility. Okay, technique 3. This one feels like the closer.
Proof of concept.
The numbers.
The knockout punch. You can have a funny story about geese, a clever reframe about alarm systems, but without the data, it's just a story.
0 escapes in 10 years.
That is the stat that shuts down skepticism. A funny idea becomes a serious business case with a statistic like that. 1 rat, 20 minutes, 200 goats, 0 fires.
It's the evidence that the simple solution isn't just cute, it's effective.
And that leads to the vibe the source material suggests for delivering this message. It calls it the big brother or big sister vibe.
The idea of shared wisdom.
Yes. It's not lecturing. It's not, I am the expert. It's more like a friend saying, hey, I found the secret and I have to share it with you.
It's about empathy. Because
Yeah.
we all do this, right? We all overcomplicate things. I do it constantly.
You do. We're wired to think if a problem is hard, the solution must be hard. If the solution is easy, we feel like we're cheating.
Oh, that's so true. It can't be that simple.
But that big brother tone says, I know you want to buy the laser. I get it. Lasers are cool, but look at this rat. Trust me. It creates a connection.
It validates the instinct to be efficient. You know, looking back at all three, the geese, the rats, the goats, there's a common thread of humility in these solutions.
Humility is the right word. It takes humility to say, I, a human with all my technology, cannot build a nose better than this rat has.
Or, I cannot build a drone that climbs a hill as well as a goat.
And when we accept that, when we stop trying to out-invent nature, we open ourselves up to a much wider range of solutions. We stop looking only at the tech column and start looking at the world column.
So, to recap our journey, we started in a Brazilian prison where geese have maintained a perfect security record for a decade.
We went to the minefields of Africa where rats are outperforming metal detectors by a factor of hundreds,
And we stopped by Google HQ, where goats are handling fire prevention.
all proving that low tech can be high impact.
And for you listening, whether you're preparing a presentation or just trying to solve a problem, don't forget that toolkit. Use contrast, reframe the features, and back it up with Bruce's concept.
The smartest solution is the one that solves the problem most effectively, not the one that costs the most.
Which brings us to the end of this deep dive. But before we go, we like to leave you with something to chew on.
We've talked about geese and rats and goats, but really, we're talking about you. I want you to look at your current project, whatever is stressing you out right now.
And ask yourself this: where are you trying to buy $1 million laser?
Where are you trying to force a high-tech, expensive, complex solution? And is there a banana-eating rat? A simple, low-tech equivalent sitting right in front of you, just waiting to do the job better.
Sometimes the answer isn't in the cloud, sometimes it's in the barnyard. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.